Good morning, Ursula.
Good morning, G. You sound like you were just in a hurry to get going. I can't see you. But you just gave me that feeling.
I do. You're 100% right. I just want to get to the show. I don't want to mess around. Let's get right to it. You ready?
Yes.
Ursula's top 5 news stories of the day, brought to you by Economy Fence Center.
And as you heard in Heather's newscast, hundreds of nurses and their supporters rallied outside hospitals in Bellingham and Puyallup protesting this statewide vaccine mandate for healthcare workers and state employees.
It really isn't about whether you choose to vaccinate or not. The point is to have a choice. We respect those that want to vaccinate and respect those that don't, for medical reasons, religious reasons, or no reasons at all.
Another rally organized on a conservative Christian Facebook page brought several hundred people to an intersection in Puyallup yesterday. This nurse believes vaccine mandates are like abortion laws.
The fact of the matter is, if they want me to take the vaccine, they'll close the border and they'll abolish abortions, because abortions kill far more people. And if it's a woman's right to choose what she can do with her body, then it's my right to choose what I'm going to do with my body.
And many of them say they are willing to quit over this mandate, which applies to most state workers as well as workers in private health care and long-term care. They have until October 18th to get their shots or face termination.
Well, that's not good news. I mean, even last year, we started hearing about those in the healthcare industry kind of getting fed up and kind of leaving that field, if you will, and then to hear that the possibility we'll even lose more. Look, Ursula, it's never a good sign when we lose healthcare professionals. Yes, I do believe, and I still believe, if they're in the healthcare industry, you guys are heroes, because you do something that I am scared to do and wouldn't know how to do and wouldn't want to do. So, yes, I'm going to say that. But at the same time, I got to say this. I don't want my loved one to come into a hospital and be cared for by someone that's unvaccinated. So the same way you have your opinion, I'm going to have mine. But more importantly, Ursula, what happened? What happened in this country where we just start caring about other people? We go back in history and we talk about the wars that our country has gone through and what people did before and how they helped each other. What happened? What happened to helping out your neighbor, your community? I remember, Ursula, being in military school and going to military school for 7 years. The one thing that I learned there is it doesn't matter how clean my room is. If the cadet next door, if his room's not clean, nobody's getting free time. So we actually, it mattered about what others did around us. And so I'm asking, I'll throw it back to you. What happened because this is something that we are going to have to fight together. What happened to us being about other people?
Well, and I want to go a little further with that and ask that question to all of you who are listening. Gee, when you and I are off the show, let's face it, we spend many of our hours looking at different news websites, social media as part of our show prep. And so we still continue to text each other and email each other with story ideas or different things that we see that might help with our show prep. And I read this comment this morning that expressed exactly how I feel, let's say, in my darkest hours, when I'm exhausted by saying the same things over and over again. So basically this person said that maybe it's just time to let the chips fall where they may. Maybe it's time to grit our teeth and bear the brunt of this public health catastrophe. Maybe the only thing that we can do is watch people die and see many lives destroyed before we all realize that the responsibility for this tragedy lies squarely on our shoulders. As you mentioned, we have failed to come together for the common good. There are times, I think, trying to plead and cajole with people who are either willfully or ignorant or defiant in the name of ideological beliefs will not change anything. And I want to make very clear, I'm not talking about you if you are medically unable to get a vaccine. And there are truly some people who are medically unable. And for you, we need to do better. But to try to plead and try to shame people, which I don't think is the right thing. It's going to get them to dig in even deeper. And there are times I say, you know what? All that needs to be said has been said. People still don't listen. So maybe it's just that we have to live with the consequences.
What do you think about that, Ursula? I read that, and I mean, excuse me. I didn't read that. I listened to what you just said. You told me about it before the show.
Yes.
I could hear this morning a little bit of exhaustion in your voice as you were telling us about that. Let me ask you this. What do you think about that? Because, Ursula, your kids are vaccinated. You're fine. If you want to, you can work from home. You and your family is fine financially. Everything's great for you.
Yeah.
Why don't you give up and just be like, you know what? Forget it. Let's quit arguing. Let's talk about something else. Why don't you give up?
Because if I give up, it really means that I don't care about the common good. And I read these facts this morning that kind of snapped me back into reality. The number of COVID cases in our state has now surpassed 500,000. Most of these new cases being this highly transmissible Delta variant. Remember back when I was on the cruise and we learned about this first case in the country here in Washington? We were doing really well, but now what we're seeing is rivaling what we were dealing with last winter at the peak, and now it's young people who are also being impacted. So many of them can't get the vaccine. And as of last week, this Delta variant made up 76% of the cases in Washington, and in more than 94% of all cases, deaths and hospitalizations for people 12 and older were people who were not fully vaccinated. We have a long way to go. If I or if you were to give up now, it's basically for me saying I'm giving up on humanity. And yesterday, I just was so furious about misinformation and a disinformation campaign, and we will talk about that because we'll show other examples too. We have dedicated our show to, even if it hurts us, show-wise, that we are going to be working hard to bring out the truth. We're gonna admit when we're wrong. We're going to try to bring you people who know much better than we do what we need to do. We are in a health crisis, a global health crisis. And a year and a half later, more than a year and a half later, we're going in the wrong direction. So for me to say, you know what, my life is good, why do I care? That's
right.
Being selfish. That's why.
All right.